forgetting all. Sat by the fireside, pondering on. Picture book, pictures of your mama, taken by your papa a long time ago. Picture book of people with each other to prove they love each other a long time ago. Picture book, picture book.
That's right. Get tied on your Wednesday edition of Gulfstream today. Weather's just perfect here. February 6th, Keisha Courtney, Jason Blewett alongside. Hope you had a good couple of dark days. And could you ask for just, again, nicer conditions for racing today?
It has been absolutely gorgeous. We have a fantastic day ahead. Just 10 races today on this Wednesday card. With that Rainbow Six, jackpot pools continue to grow and sun is shining. What more could you want? Come on out. It's been a great day here with some world-class racing.
That's right. Fast and firm. No surprise given the sunny and clear conditions. And a lot of dough up for grabs in that Rainbow Six, and more on that as this show progresses. Anyway, though, let's look ahead and see what's going on here over the next few hours. Some highlights, at least as far as we're concerned. And you, Acacia, are about a big pedigree nerd as I am. And I know the success that No Nay Never has had in his short stint at having some horses here in this country, not lost on you. We've got a very good field of maidens in the 7th. And how about Marconi coming back to the races?
Absolutely. A really highly touted horse at the start of his career. And as you said, Mucho Macho Man's little bro is back in action here. He's been working very sharply up at Palm Beach Downs.
Yeah, you'll see a workout from him a bit later on. Race number 9, by the way, also our featured West Point affair on the afternoon as we dive into the carryover situation. And although there's some cash, a little over $3,000, in fact, left over from Sunday's nightcap in that super high 5 to start the card, make no mistake, this is very much a week in which it's pretty much devoted, at least at the forefront of things, to the big 7-figure carryover in the Rainbow Six.
Absolutely. And for those asking, yes, mandatory payout will be Saturday, February 9th. So do keep an eye out for that. We'll keep you updated on all of the Rainbow Six action leading up to that day, of course. But we're going to try and get some good payouts this afternoon and hopefully get that 6 out of 6.
And just with the big 1-0 on the card today, just 10 races. We moved the early post back a little bit, 12:35, give or take, as we embark again on the first of 10 races today. We're on the main track, and I'm wondering if you've got the Pletcher favorite here in the first singled.
I don't have him singled. I don't have any singles today. Alpha Orianus here in race number 1. I backed myself up with Bagwell, whom I'm not totally in love with, but that said, I wasn't in love with the Pletcher drop down, or he was a drop down last time to the 12.5 level where he was beaten in neck and he ran very, very well. So we'll see if he can back that performance up. He comes right back at the 12.5 once again, but I always proceed with just a little bit of caution with horses like this, so he absolutely is the one to beat. I'm using 3 horses in race number 2. I think Bronze is really going to be key off the claim for Jason Service, and then you've got another Todd Pletcher runner in Sea Shark, who's taking a drop to the $50,000 level today. Race number 3, potentially toyed with the idea of singling JoJo's Candy, first time in the barn of Jorge Navarro, coming from Bruce Levine, who's done some solid running against Tougher up in New York. So we'll see how she translates that form. 3 deep in race number 4, and then just using the 3 Gray's Shooting Star and the 9 No Way Never, as Jason alluded to earlier. No Nay Never looking for yet another winner here.
That's right. He's 6 for 8 in this country. No
Pretty
Nay Never.
impressive.
Yes. And I thought originally, before he really got on this sort of run that he's been on, somebody said, hey, have you heard about that stallion, No Nay Never? And I thought it was a mistake looking down in the past performances, seeing his stud fee at over $100,000. But it's the truth. He stands for 100,000 euros, which equates to about $1.15 here in the States. And boy, has he just had a meteoric rise there standing in Ireland with his turf horses.
And it feels like most of the horses we've seen run in America by No Nay Never have been from the barn of Leslie Ward, like this one is. So he's certainly tapped into into that horse's potential. We'll see if it continues.
Yeah, absolutely. As again, we do have a situation here in the first couple where trainer Todd Pletcher, who is second in the standings, 29-25 behind Jorge Navarro, has got a couple of potential favorites. Certainly, this horse by Bernardini in the opener is going to be around 2 to 5 or so. I think it'll be pretty close between Sea Shark and Bronze. You're not going to get the third choice 7-2 on Bronze in the second. Regardless, though, Todd is very live in the first, and I just didn't know where else to go outside the big favorite.
I'm right there with you. I thought exactly the same thing. He hasn't been the best getting out of the gate in his 2 starts. I tried to pick against him last time out, taking that big drop from the special weight to the 12.5, but he comes right back at that 12.5 level after beating a neck last time. Bagwell finished right behind him. I used that horse for Oscar Gonzalez, just thinking he might be a little bit of a sneaky who didn't run too badly last time, and not the smoothest trip for that horse either.
All right, outside post or close to the outside, second to last stall beneath Lionel Reyes. Here's the second. We're on the main track, in fact, for both halves of the early Wednesday double as we go the 3/4 with these 3-year-old $50,000 maiden claimers, a field of 6, and really a clash between Bronze, the number 2, and the number 4 Sea Shark, and I would imagine they'll be first and second choice when it's all said and done. I gave the edge, though, to Sea Shark off a very tough loss last time out, where if you want to see the strength of Luis Saez, just look at what Louis was able to do with this horse, even though they didn't win.
Well, I thought, yes, absolutely. Luis Saez there in the Rapoli colors. He was the number 1 that afternoon. You can see him just riding really hard at this point. More than anything, though, I thought Sea Shark was all heart. That being said, why does he now drop in for the 50 after running so well against Special Weight Company? And for what it's worth, it was not the strongest, I don't think, Special Weight field that he faced last time. So maybe it is just a comparable move of what he's going to face today. That said, he just missed the bob, really.
Yeah, lost a tough one there. Very gritty effort. Race didn't come up all that fast.
Yeah.
In fact, quite the contrary. 66 buyer for the performance. And if you've been around Mike Rapoli, whether you're a fan or you know him personally, I mean, this is a guy who just wants to win and does not like over ambitiously placing his horses. And I would imagine the feeling with Sea Shark, I don't know this to be an absolute fact, is, you know, he did catch a fairly modest field in that special weight here on December 30th, and they just feel as though this will be a better spot. However, you got to deal with the first-time Jason Service horse who you picked in the 2 Bronze. I'll let you talk about this colt by FedBiz, but here's a stat here with the barn, and this seems to be a real sweet spot. We're talking a month and a half to 3 months between races first off the claim. I mean, you're dealing with an otherworldly percentage upwards of 40.
Just a super impressive, and 74% of the time in the money with that positive ROI. So some, it seems like almost every Jason Service stat we pull is just kind of those super impressive numbers seen there with owner Michael Debb, who does also own Bronze here. They claimed this horse off of a barn with not too many runners that we don't see too much of here at Gulfstream, and had done some okay running at Monmouth and okay last time out, but errata tees, first off the claim for Service, tactical speed, this FedBiz called. I thought this just might be the kind of horse that would take a step forward.
And 64 wins here at the meet and counting for errata Ortiz, who's just 13. It sounds like a big number. It's only 13. That's a couple of 4-win days and then some behind Luis Saez, who's got 77. And we'll see the big 2 on the big 2 in race number 2. Here's the third on the day, opening turf race on this Wednesday, February 6th. Older filly and mare, 2 lifetime $16,000 claimers set to tussle, and like me, you clearly, as far as getting 3 races into the card, and what I think will be a Pletcher double sweep, we've stuck with a high-profile leading barn here. JoJo's Candy off the trainer change to Navarro.
And this is the kind of races where you say, oh, it looks like it's going to be so formful, and it looks like we're going to have some short price horses. And then we've got these crazy long shots that will jump up and surprise everybody. But on paper, it really does look like these are the 3 horses, marquee horses to beat in the first couple of races. The main controlling speed of JoJo's Candy, blinkers do go on. We'll have the Lasix once again. Her last few starts were without Lasix, but again, she's just been running on the turf against better in New York.
And then you've got that familiar, the other sort of main subset or subject going in. You've got the familiar horses, 5 of them in this field in race number 3 today, faced each other back on December 28th. A tough trip that afternoon for Irish Fix, for Chuck Simon, who's got Louis S. Riding in this one. And then 4 of those, in fact, came back and ran against one another against Freckles Can here on January 18th. So this is very much a familiar type field, bunch of horses, turf sprinters that know each other quite well.
And we've said this before, this $16,000 level is just absolute wars on the turf. Some really tough and consistent horses. Truly Courageous, one of those who used to show speed and lately has been coming from off the pace. We'll see if she's a little bit more forwardly placed today.
All right, sounds good. Let's move on to race 4. Back on the main, certainly dirt heavy to start this February 6th card as we go the mile for the second time on the program with these 3-year-old $12,500 claimers. And to me, the potential hang-up, or at least big subject, pre-race for the 4th is every single one of these horses, they've all got to stay what I think will be a pretty demanding one-turn mile. El Playon on the outside will probably be favored, but this is a horse who's lost at 6-5, and I don't fully trust, in the past, of course, don't fully trust him going that one-turn mile.
I don't either. That's why I picked the kid instead. He's run okay going the one-turn mile against much tougher. He ran against $25,000 types 2 starts back, ran an okay 3rd behind Quasar Moon for Todd Pletcher. He's taking a drop in class today, going back to the dirt for Ken McPeak. I thought he was the one to beat.
I'm going to take the 4 King Kingo, thinking that perhaps, and if you like him, you like him because there's a good chance he's going to be able to control the pace this afternoon. And if anyone's going to step up and maybe just be there from the quarter pole to the wire and outfinish these at 8 furlongs, it might just be this colt by Bellamy Road.
Certainly could. The 6 All-Star Sailor showed some speed 2 starts back when trying to kind of force the issue going the one-turn mile. He wasn't able to sustain it, so we'll see if he sends again.
All right, sounds good. As we take a little time out with the first 4 down, $1.2 million plus in the rainbow after this.
Whether you're at home or at the track, have a stake in the race when you bet with ExpressBet. Sign up for an ExpressBet online betting account and receive up to a $500 sign-up bonus.
The best chance for success begins with a solid foundation. At Hardacre Farm, early personal one-on-one care starts the journey to becoming a champion. Bred to leading stallions, our mares represent the highest standards. Hardacre Farm's signature in the breeding industry. Based in Ocala, Florida, breeder and owner Amy Tarrant has inspired excellence throughout her entire career. In your quest for success, start with Hardacre Farm, breeding the champions of tomorrow.
Welcome back. Little live Wednesday edition of Gulfstream today with Acacia and Jason on a beautiful sun-drenched Wednesday here at Gulfstream Park, South Florida, of course. And not to rush today's 10-race affair, or tomorrow's for that matter, but we do have, how do you like a $100K minimum in Friday Stronach 5?
Oh, that sounds pretty good for sure. And look at that beautiful shot of the ocean, not too far away from here. It starts around 4:35 on Friday, hosted by Laurel Park. Once again, so you go to the window, ask for Laurel Park Race 9. You've got 2 from Gulfstream in there and nice guaranteed pool size.
And the family's all there. One from Laurel, a couple from GP, one from Santa. And let's not forget the wrap-up cash-out leg, the finale, race number 5 in the Stronach 5 out there at Golden Gate Fields. Big payout last week, just under $10,000. We'll take another shot at it with a $100,000 guarantee this coming Friday. And that's a good segue into today's $1.2 million plus Rainbow 6. How's the ticket looking?
All right, well, 4320, the magic number as told by Ron Nicoletti, as I did end up singling in the last leg with that Chad Brown drop-down runner. I'm going to use 3 horses here in race number 5. We talked a little bit about this race already. It's the same cash out as the early 5. I like a price in race number 6, in fact, a couple of prices, so I'm spreading there. 7th race is a really nice maiden special weight, going a mile and a 16th on the turf. Looking forward to that one quite a bit. We'll see if Ayla can finally get to the winner's circle. She's been a little bit of a tough luck mare, but super consistent. So certainly using her. Great race today in race number 9, going 3 deep. And then I will just single in the final leg, especially after the scratch of Painter's Boy. So I'll single Unlock the Potential in the big drop.
Sounds good. That horse looks pretty good,
Yep.
and I've got that horse singled as well for Chad and Javier in my late pick 5, which we'll get up once we move on to race number 6. But let's discuss this upcoming Wednesday 5th on the turf. 3-year-old mid-level $50,000 maiden claimers, and we move back, and we've already kind of teased the presence of the hot stallion No Nay Never and his Irish bred No Way Never, who, whether you think this horse is going to win or not, hands down is the nucleus of this race going in.
Oh, yes, the race absolutely goes through this gelding. He's getting the blinkers off, second time out for Wesley Ward, kind of a common move there. We haven't seen him in about 7 months. He debuted on the turf and special weight company at Belmont back in July. Took a lot of money that day, too. So now immediately dropping to the 50, blinkers come off the second time. So we'll see what we get from him. I kind of proceeded, as I see you did, too, with just a little bit of caution with him.
Yeah.
Just kind of wanting to see one. I'll be anxious to see how he looks in the flesh, too.
Yeah, absolutely
Yeah.
off the layoff, and we obviously went in slightly different directions in terms of who we picked on top, and obviously the 9-horse both capping our respective exactas. I get the 6, Entrez Encore is stepping up and facing a better field, but the positives here, trainer who's been very good with limited starters, and Jorge Duarte Jr., the first race for Jorge here on January 9th, easily the best effort this filly by FedBiz has put forth so far. She runs against the boys this afternoon. And lastly, she had a legitimately impossible trip where she was completely annihilated and shut off, trying to put forth a pretty bold run up the rail.
Yeah, she did. She had, I thought, had a very, very tough trip that day, too. All that said, I still don't know if she would have won that race, and I think that she has a couple other tough horses that she's going to have to face today. But I certainly respect the connections and the job that they've done throughout the very challenging and competitive championship meet.
Definitely.
I did take the 3 Gray Shooting Star on the drop. This is actually kind of a very similar look to No Way Never, coming off of the layoff, taking the drop in class. This one's the first time gelding by More Than Ready for Eddie Keneally. Does very well off the layoff.
Okay, half-mile pole run, 5 down, 5 to go. Late 5 gets underway. No carryover into the Wednesday latter stages here, as we have an $18 play. Got Chad, Javier, the big drop down, unlock the potential in the nightcap. I don't know if we'll need to unlock anything. That horse is going to be very tough there. You would think dipping in for 16 Gs. Working from the back end forward, the 9th race is our West Point race of the day. Very good finale on the dirt. I didn't use Marconi. I've got that horse picked in 3rd. Yeah, I want to see one off the layoff with him. And he was such a one-pace, plodding grinder type horse. My feeling is he might need a race or two. If he's any good, he might need a race or two to realize his potential. Three logical horses in the 8th. Like I said, very straightforward in that 3-horse spread in the 8th race this afternoon. The 7th, I'm only 2 deep there, but that is like, you know, a typical classic-looking maiden special on the turf this time of year at Gulfstream, don't you think?
Oh, it's a great race. I like Overbold, the second-time starter for Mott, too, but it's hard. I mean, there are just so many different ways to go. That's a race where you really could kind of just throw a dart at the wall and still end up with a great barn and a pretty good horse, too.
We already mentioned JoJo's Candy, who is off a trainer change to Jorge Navarro with big early speed. I'm 3 deep to start 3, 6, and 8, but make no mistake, Navarro's dropped down the 6 Desert, who really, if you were to like chart his or her performances, no, his performances as of now, this is a Colt by Desert Party, a New York bred. I mean, it would be an erratic sort of, line for sure. He's good one race. He's bad the next couple. It does seem like they are just dropping him in for $12,500, hoping to get a win this afternoon. He's the horse to beat, but again, the fact that he's been good, but also, if I'm being honest, very, very, very underwhelming, led me to take another horse on top and not single him.
Yeah, and you can say, okay, well, he's been running against tougher, but he was the favorite in that race last time off of 2 solid efforts. I mean, it was against State Bred Company 2 starts back, but it was in the slop at Belmont against a very good field. And before that, he ran really well in First Level Allowance Company at Parks, and he just hasn't been able to kind of consistently keep that good momentum going. He's got a lot of early speed, which definitely will work in his corner. I did take another drop-down run. It's my price play today. I like the 8 Color Me Pom Pom a lot in here. Terry Pompey has had a really good meet with not not that many starters and has continued to kind of fly beneath underneath the radar. I mean, she's 21%, which is fantastic through this meet. On the drop, the last time this horse won was for a comparable tag.
And this is a move I felt as though, because I've got Color Me Pom Pom third, I'm like, you know, we just don't see Terry with these sizable 50% drop downs or more in claiming price. She's 5 for her last 20, so doesn't happen all the time, but she's won with 1 out of every 4 or thereabouts. The bull also interests me, and I do feel like, obviously, Luch, Ron Paolucci, is diversified, is stable. He doesn't have just one trainer. He's got quite a few, even on the East Coast. The few claims he's made this winter with trainer Peter Walder have been good, including Minute Madness, who you liked here and paid like $25 on Pegasus Day. So I'm hoping that is some good inertia for this 6-year-old gelding. And in fact, here's a good stat as well for trainer Peter Walder, not just with Luch horses, but all inclusive. He's 9 for his last 36, and this does seem to be another sweet spot, talking like a month and a half to 2 months between races. And this horse, for the record, has 48 starts between that last race on December 20th. I do think this horse has got some back class and is eligible to really run well. First time out from a man, Peter.
I think so, too. I remember back in 2017, all of us being big fans of this horse because he was a hard trier. He was right there. I mean, he's a true 6-furlong sprinter. So you just throw out that 9-furlong turf race, even the 7-furlong races. Love to see him coming back at this distance and maybe just freshened up and got into a good groove in here.
It's Desert's race to lose. Oh, you're really trepidatious with him, capping you super.
I took the stand against.
All right.
I took the stand against in here. Just looking through this race, I said it's not going to be a walkover for him. It's not like he's got, you know, some horses that don't really have anything to offer that he's facing against. The ones that we like, and even a couple others, I thought look good in here.
Sounds good. Race number 7. Meanwhile, this is my favorite race on the card. Very good-looking, interesting, multi-tiered and layered 3-year-old maiden special weight on the turf, going a mile and a 16th. Would you agree, though, even though we picked different horses, the British bred on the rail, Clint Maroon, by just having that good turf race last time out, would you say this gelding by Oasis Dream is the horse to beat for Pletcher?
He's the horse to beat. And this is the kind of race that you say, okay, well, he's the horse to beat. You've also got a Mike Maker, Kitten's Joy, second-time starter. You've got a Mott, second-time starter, a Chad Brown firster. And we've talked about this already, that's just one of the appeals of this race. But Clint Maroon had the far outside post last time, still ran very well. And even though it was on the dirt in his first race, he ran into a Thread of Blue, who's turned out to be a really good horse for Kieran McLaughlin.
And also, he's coming out of a race that's already produced 2 next-out winners from only 2 runners to return. So that does seem that King Ottakar race. I remember liking it at the time, and clearly the few that have run back, both of them, in fact, have won. So potential very live race, and maybe you get I'm hoping you get another step forward this afternoon for Todd, who all of a sudden, going back to Saturday's last and Sunday's nightcap, seems like he's got a bevy of pretty decent 3-year-old turf horses because he won both those maiden races that capped the weekend's cards.
He did indeed. I think one of them was named Saranda, something with an S, something like that, the nightcap, but some really impressive runners. And certainly you expect to see good things coming out of Todd Pletcher's stable, especially in the maiden ranks. And you also expect that, especially throughout this meet, from Bill Mott. And here's the stat just on the 4 Overbold. Wanted to bring in fact, the replay of this horse's last race, because as we look at the start of this race, Jason, this is where he just totally got cut off, because there's the 6 in the yellow colors, just kind of plops out of the gate, and then there gets bumped again. So I'm willing to give him another chance.
Absolutely. And it seems reasonable to think you've got the bad break in the debut, completely out of the game. Johnny V stays, and just the way the legendary Mr. Bill Mott trains, never been a guy really cranking them up first out. So you also have a good educational building block, bad start type trip, and then you combine that with just quite simply a Mott second-time starter, and Overbold does seem dangerous, as does, of course, the Chad Brown firster by Lemon Drop Kid in Value Engineering, who the mare has been awesome. I mean, there's 4 prior runners, or 4 prior siblings to this colt. All of them have made it to the races. All of them have won, and all 4 tried the turf, and all 4 have won on the turf, which when you start to look at pedigrees, that's a rarity. You don't see that too often. No,
it's very impressive. She's been quite the producer, and then you've got the element of the Chad Brown with a Klarovich firster on the turf, and you're kind of like, okay, well, how am I really picking against this horse now?
Second for you and I've got Todd, you've got Mott, but again, the gang's all there, no doubt, in Wednesday's 7th. Race number 8, meanwhile, is on the turf, a 5-furlong older filly mare, $16,000 claimer, in which the speedy Ela is just one for her last 18, but I can't deny, and she may have been weakening, but she caught a tough field last time, and boy, you want to talk about a traffic jam in mid-stretch.
Yeah, there was a traffic jam for sure, and as we show the stretch of this race, and she's the number 10, she was in really good position there. She showed a lot more speed than she had recently. She has natural early speed, so it was great to see her making use of it last time. The number 4, Cordelli, ended up being disqualified in here, but the number 8 in this race, Delicious Pursuit, also came over, and poor Ela, I think, really took a lot of it along the rail as well. So I'm hoping on the drop, picking up Brian Hernandez, who's been riding in great form, and Luca Panicci's certainly ridden her very well in her last few starts too. I'm hoping this is just the right spot for her.
Now, she'll show speed, you would think. The 4, the 2 Nancys will likely be up close for Boogie Mirage and Tony Mirage. And then we have the new face ship-in wild card, the number 6, a Dixie Twister. Not a household name, certainly a veteran trainer here in Gerald Persino. But the fact that this horse just ran for everybody up in New York, I think is a big positive.
It really did run for everybody. Went from Oaklawn and Steve Asmussen to Mike Maker, John Kimmel, Michael Maselli last time, and was able to take her racetrack with her too. She got a lot of frequent flyer miles. I respect her on the drop as well.
I do as well. And you got Vitali, Marcus, of course, in the 7 Ice Show with a Rod Ortiz coming in off a win against Lesser at a blanket 3-horse finish. Race number 9 is our West Point race of the day. It'll kick off the late double. It's also the final affair today on the main track, and it's a good field. There's a lot going on, even though we lost 3 horses, and they were more second, third, or fourth tier players. The main faces and players have certainly stayed in, including our Shug horse on top, who's got good tactical speed. And I feel as though Sergeant Drive, the number 3, might be narrow, but is the horse to beat.
I think so too. And just given the fact John Velasquez has ridden this horse in the last few starts, coming out of a key race, though it was in November at Aqueduct. We've seen a few next out winners from that race as well. Has some tactical speed. I just think that this is the type of horse been training up at Payson Park for Shug McGahee that's going to come back here with a solid effort at the mile.
All right, no Payson works for the 6 Marconi. A little south of Payson up in Indiantown. We've got Palm Beach Downs, in fact, with Mucho Macho Man's little brother, who was on briefly on the Triple Crown Trail. Seemed again like a grinding one-paced horse who probably wasn't even close to being done growing into himself.
Well, I think that's fair as we bring up the work in here, working in company with Lemonis. This is courtesy of XBTV. This was the most recent work that they had on file on December 30th. He's a big gray on the outside. He's always been an impressive-looking horse, but he just practically dwarfs Lemonis, his stablemate, and he's been working very fast. This is 48-3. He backed that up with a couple more bullets, even 59-4 on January 25th at Palm Beach Downs. We don't normally see times like that up there. That's a more like main track Gulfstream type of time, and he looks like he's doing it pretty easily. I'll be excited to see him in person. He was a $2 million purchase, of course, son of Tappet, and we'll see how he's developed into a 4-year-old, but I'm with you. He's got to prove it to us today.
Glad he's back. Excited to see him run. From where I sit, I want to see a race out of him, but boy, I had a chuckle watching them coming down the stretch at Palm Beach Downs, and just the size. It's almost like poor Lemonis was working alongside Godzilla or King Kong. He is a massive colt there as he goes out, son of Tappet for Todd and Javier. But a good race on tap, undoubtedly. In the 9th, I also really quickly think the 4, the Scotsman, 1 turn mile for him is going to be his true calling.
I so agree with you. This is a horse I've been a fan of in his last few because he just runs no matter what, and Tyler Gaffalione will be in the saddle today.
And he comes over with Oscar Gonzalez, a full blindfold on.
It's almost like a fly mask that he wears, so you can see it because his face is fully covered. He can still see out of it, obviously. He's not blindfolded, but it does have his ears fully covered like a hood would do, and they take it off as he heads onto the track.
And Oscar told me it's just to keep him a little more low-key and chill because he's a very, very fiery type horse. Let's wrap things up. Race number 10, and there might not need to be a lot that needs to be discussed anyway with the nightcap on the turf, as for many people, including us, and I see not even the winner, potentially a 10-1 exacta, this race, quite simply, is all about the number 10 Unlock the Potential.
And I thought that Painter's Boy might try to spice things up a little bit on the drop for Jane Sibeli, but now that that horse is out, it's a big, big drop for Unlock the Potential, who was the favorite in his last couple up in New York, and then here at Gulfstream last time out for the 50. It looks like they're just kind of saying, all right, go time here. And I don't think I've seen Chad Brown with many Sons of Crown of Thorns, which is kind of fun as well.
No, that is.
Yeah.
That's kind of a...
You know I'm a fan of that sire on the turf.
On the turf, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, you could claim this one for $16,000, and it's the old master against the former student as the likely distant second choice will be going. Certainly with the scratch of Painter's Boy, we'll go out for Jorge Abreu in the number 1, Michael Wonderful, who, if you're using 2, this is the sort of bigger price, maybe a stab in this case, but bigger price wild card for sure.
Oh, absolutely. You've got the Dub Monomoy stables at All Group at the helm here, taking a drop, switching back to the turf off the layoff, and for a barn that has had some really, really good stock building up over the past year or so.
Jorge's done a great job. He's got a big string here in South Florida, just like our man, Big Pete Aiello. Hopefully it's the bankroll this afternoon. He'll be up in the booth later, but we have him right now for you in our clubhouse studios. Sit tight.